So you started working for this employment agency?
Yes.
Okay. So what kind of, what did you do for the
Well,
payroll or?
No, I went to work for this lady who was a really, really hard-nosed employer. If you got in there to her desk, I'll tell you, she would get you a job. So I trained under her. I started, I did all of the hiring for the banks in Pueblo, Colorado. They hired me to, instead of them having a personnel department, they would send what they needed to me and I would find them the right kind of person for the job. So what I would do is I'd counsel people, see who would fit whatever they needed. When you came into the office, by the way, the lady that ran that agency that trained me, she left one day and just out of the blue. So I was pretty much there by myself. I put this mirror up by the door, and at the top of the door I put, "Would you hire you?" So that was the first thing they saw when they came in my office. I had a couple guys turn around and walk out. I said, "Yeah, you're going to hire me." So anyway, and I also had a hookup with a beauty shop and a little, was a secondhand store. So if somebody came in and they fit the qualifications, but they didn't look too good, I'd fix them up.
Oh, wow.
I'd take them and get a little hairdo on them, get them some nice little clothes. Then I'd
Mostly
send them out.
women then?
Mostly women. Yeah, I
Okay.
dealt mostly with women then.
Interesting.
I don't remember really doing that much with men back then. So one day I was in my employment office and this big guy comes in. He's dressed really nice and his name was Turley. And he comes in, he sits at my desk and he tells me that he's moving his company to Pueblo from Dallas. And he wanted me to find him an assistant. So I took the qualifications, everything, wrote it all down. So I'm looking for an assistant for him. And so he...
What kind of company was it?
It was a big, it was like commercial. It had farm and ranch equipment, plumbing, electrical, everything that you could think of that would help with like ranching,
Agriculture,
farming, agriculture. And it was big. It was Commercial Metals Company. They were a big company, and they were opening they bought out Bernstein Brothers in Pueblo, Colorado.
Wow.
So 2 weeks went by, and he comes back in my office, and he says to me, "I decided who I want to work for me." And I said,
You
"Well,
sent him a bunch of candidates and
yeah."
stuff?
And he came back, and he said, "I know who I want to work for me." And I said, "Well, which one? Who do you want?" He says, "I want you." I said, "But I already am working here. You know, I already have a job." He says, "Well, I want you to go to lunch with me. I'm going to tell you what I can do for you, which you're not getting here." Okay, here we go again.
Whoa.
So
Second guy taking you to lunch?
So we go to lunch. Yeah, this lunch thing was something else. Good thing it wasn't dinner. So we go to lunch, and he says to me, "Look, if you come to work for me, I'll get you insurance, I'll give you good pay, you'll have a nice office, and all the perks that you need with your family." Because I'm, you know, right now I'm in the middle of a divorce, so I'm needing some benefits. So I thought about it. Next time he came in, I said, "Okay, I'll go to work for you." So I go to work for him.
And this lady was
I
not
knew-
pissed or anything? That you
Well, she had already left.
Oh, okay. So
She's
you were-
already gone. I don't
okay.
even know what happened to that company when I left, and I could care less. But then we go to his, where he has the company, and it's a big company. It's got a lot of employees, maybe 100 employees or something like that. Gives me a really nice office right outside his office. And I have all these people working in accounts payables, accounts receivables, sales, ordering. There must have been maybe 12, 15 women in that department, and a couple of guys. And he says, "I'm putting you in charge of these people." And I said, "But I don't know anything about the business." Because these people had been there for years. They had just acquired this company, and they acquired all these people. Now he's bringing me in as a new person to be over these people.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh man, and some were like a lot older than me, twice as my age. I thought, man, I don't think this is such a good idea. But he said, I insist on it. I want you to represent me. So I thought about it for a while, and then I decided, you know, the only way I'm going to be able to do this job is to get all these people on my side. So I called a meeting, and I told him, I said, look, I'm going to admit up front, I know nothing about this company. I know nothing of what you do. I need your help. And I said, if you help me and let me learn from you, I'll go to bat for you. Because they know I was in thick with the boss. So anyway, so they all just kind of came around, and it was really neat because they all helped me out. And then I had this big position over all of them, but they were all working for me. So it was really kind of nice until Corey also, as all my life seems to be, took a fancy to me. And then he started telling me, he'd put a note on my desk, or he'd call me up and tell me, go get my Cadillac today and go out to the airport and pick up so-and-so, or, you know, you can take my Cadillac home, I'm going back to Dallas, stuff like this. And then he'd say, well, you know, we're going to have a big party, and I need to plan this party, so you need to come with me tonight, because we're going to go. And there I was again, stupid, you know, thinking, well, maybe this goes so big with big companies, because I knew nothing about corporations and big companies. So he takes me all the way to the Broadmoor Hotel in Colorado Springs. And there, he's trying to get me to stay the night there, and I had to fight him about that. So no, going back home. So I kept turning him down. Every time he'd say something, I'd turn him down. So anyway, so then he got really kind of nasty with me. He got nasty with me.
Okay.
And he said, the only reason I even hired you is because you look good at a pencil sharpener. I knew you didn't know anything. And so anyway, this went on for a little while. He started messing around with one of the girls in the other office. And he was trying to make me jealous, but I never budged. I never would go with him. I would never get involved with him. So finally, one day, the head guy from the head corporation, let me say one thing about Corey. He was very generous to his employees. He treated them great. Somebody needed tires, he'd buy them tires. If somebody needed to pay their babysitter, he'd do that. He was like a really kind, giving person. But he had this thing for women. And
was he married?
He was married.
He had kids?
So, yes, he did. And so one day, the head person from Dallas came in, went in his office, came out, Corey came out, and he says to me, come in my office, I want to tell you what's going on. So I went in there, and he says, I just got fired. He said, I want you to know that I did some things in this company, and I kept you clean. Because, see, I was his assistant, so I was supposed to know everything. What he was doing, he was pilfering and stealing from the company, not $100,000, but millions of dollars. And he was paying somebody off. We don't know if it was mafia or what. But he was, they fired him and told him that he would either go to prison or he'd have to make restitution. So he then decided to go, his brother had a construction company in El Paso, Texas. So he went there, told him, I'll make restitution. So he goes there and starts working in the construction business. So one day I pick up the paper, and I look in the paper. It says, executive with some construction was just shot in the head by his wife. And this was Corey. One day he's sitting at his office and still messing around. He liked the women. So she comes in. Yeah, this other guy sitting at his desk. She comes in. She opens up her purse. She pulls out a gun and she shoots him in the head. And so he ended up living, but he didn't press charges on her because he knew how guilty he was. But the whole upshot of this whole thing is he wrote me a letter after that, and he was telling me how much he respected me because no matter how he bribed or how he connived or whatever, I always stayed clean. And he said, I have the most respect for you. If you ever need a letter from me or any kind of references, I'll be the first to give it to you. So that was my story with Bernstein Brothers. So Bernstein Brothers, after that, put the assistant manager in charge, was Gene Reich. He ended up building a big house up on the hilltop and using all of the company's refrigerators, and he was stealing too.
Wow.
So
So you're still the assistant?
I'm now his
working
assistant, and I see how he's stealing.
I see.
Because we used to have scrap metal, and what we do, we take truckloads of scrap metal to the steel mill, and they pay us cash. Used to be, with Corey, all that cash went into a fund for the employees if they needed something. With him, it was bring it to me. And we never saw it again. So they end up firing him. So they come in one day and they're having this meeting and they call me in there. Now I'm running the company because he's gone all the time. So I'm doing everything. I'm running this company now. So he calls me in, Marvin Selleck was his name. He's a Jewish guy that owned the company. He said, I just fired Gene Reich and I'm looking for a manager. And I says, duh, I'm already running your company. What about me? You know what he says to me? He says, I don't believe in women in management. You are not a candidate. I said, but you believe in me doing the work. He says, that's your job.
Wow.
So that they ended up finally having to close the company. And they asked me, because I was so close to everybody and worked with them, because we had a lawsuit when there were 3 Mexican men in the steel mill that I had to fire. They called me from Dallas and said fire them. Didn't give me a reason. So this was back in the day when people could sue a company for being fired without cause. So I spent 2 or 3 days in court defending myself. They said I discriminated against them. They blamed it all on me, but I didn't. I took orders. So, but it ended up, when they put the guys on the stand, they had all this. This was when the attorney generals were taking these cases because we're brand new, you know. And so when they put me on the stand, or they put this guys on the stand, and my attorney says, you know that lady? Yeah. How is that lady? Great. Does that lady treat you nice? Yeah. And so they contradicted everything that the suit was about. So the judge throws it out, says this woman doesn't discriminate. Okay, so I got off the hook there. But that was 2 days of very trying in court.
The company just let you.
Yeah, they just told us to do it, and you followed orders.
Well, in court they didn't even send you a lawyer or anything?
I had a lawyer.
Oh, okay.
They did get me a lawyer. Yeah, that was my lawyer that got with the Mexican guys on the stand, and they all loved me because I always went to bat for them. Well, they also told me when I worked for that company, and also Marvin Selleck told me, you know, I would never have anybody in charge of that always looks out for the underdog. And you look out for the underdog too much.
Wow.
So that was my career there.
So when he told you that, he was like, I don't believe in women in management, then what happened?
I just walked out of his office.
Did you quit, or were you
No,
just...
I didn't quit. No, because I had a family. I had to support my family. You're stuck. You were just totally stuck. So that was... Corey, I don't know where it ever happened to him. I never heard from him.
So they brought in a new person?
Oh, another thing. Now they're going to transfer me. After they asked me, would you make sure that everybody in this company is either finds a job, you help them get a job, you work with them, so I want everybody to be happy, and in return, we will transfer you anywhere we have a company anywhere in the United States.
And this is like when they're shutting down at this point?
Yeah, we're closing up. And then, so I decided, Kim wanted to go to school for performing arts in Houston, and there was a building boom in Houston. So I told him, well, I think I'd like to go to Houston because there's 2 or 3 branches there. And so the guy from Dallas says to me, okay, I'll tell you what, we're going to let you go to Houston, but we can't let anybody know that we're paying for your expenses because we just do this for men. And he said, what you do is I'll show you how to pad your expense account. So you get your furniture moved and whatever, and I'll show you how to pad it, and then I can get it through Dallas to pay. So that's how I got to Houston, Texas.
Wow.
So that starts the end of that.
Well, pause.